Something.
Anything. Test 1, 2, 3.
Well, what's going on, friends? How we doing? Trey stuck the show. Couldn't handle Santiago Espinal going off. He's not behind me. He's having a 3-hit day, hitting a home run tonight. The worst player in the history of the sport. How we doing, Craig? Good to see you.
What's up, man? What a night for me to get to fill in. This is feeling good. I like shows like this. We're gonna need to do more like this one and not like some of the other ones we've done together.
Yes. I have they all been losses so far for you?
No, I got lucky. Charlie's the one that's got the bad luck. Luckily, we didn't bring Charlie on tonight. He's the one that can't get a dub to save his life. I think I've gotten a couple of dubs.
Yeah. All right. Well, no baby. I'm assuming you didn't think I had a baby and did the show the same night.
Yeah, that would be quite
I'm dedicated,
quite a decision.
but not that dedicated. So just a false alarm last night, but it's any day now. So I'll be taking a couple days off. But the show will go on. We always find a way. Might not be pretty, but we find a way.
Always find a way. Let's see, where are we at here? We're in top of the 9th here. Sam Moll, at least on my TV, just picked up his first strikeout of the season. So welcome back, Sam Moll. Nice to have the lefty back in the bullpen and available.
Yeah, nice when you can get him in that. Nice when you can get him in the spot like this.
Yeah, exactly.
First game back. All right.
Welcome back to the majors. Pitching a 7-run ball game where you have basically zero chance of blowing it.
All right, one more to go.
Let's get
Chat,
it.
how we doing? How we doing, folks?
What's up, chat? Everybody having a good night? Reds are winning 8-1, which means that the Reds fans all have to be happy, right? That's how it works. Everybody's miserable when the Reds lose, and
I think we got to win, Craig, but
you're ahead of me. I see it on the game day app now, so
I just want to make sure the Phillies aren't challenging. Yeah, they're going to challenge, so let's.
Yeah, of course they are.
I kind of low-key love this. Make them sit there. I think he's actually going to be safe. Umpire's just like, come on, man. I just wanted to go home.
He's had a night. This is what his third challenge at first, right?
Is it really?
I think so. And
I missed a little bit of the middle of the game.
The tough part about plays at first is that it's when it breaks the plane at the front of the mitt. So it doesn't have to hit the back, right? It just has to break the plane, which is really, really close. I don't know. I think he's probably safe, but I wouldn't be shocked if they let it stand. You're ahead of me, though, so you may already know.
We're still waiting. We got a super chat right off the rip. Appreciate you, Jacob. Can we go ahead and write Elly a $300 million check? You know what, Jacob? I actually had that on the rundown. What are you supposed to say about Elly other than this guy, might be the best player in the sport right now? I'll go ahead and say it. So I think we might need to have some conversations about that. So it's honestly, I think, a good topic for tonight. So Jacob, that will be on the rundown.
We'll save it for the show. Michael Hart asked, is Justin Wilson hurt? I believe they mentioned it on the broadcast tonight that he is yet the latest Red to feel the illness that's been going around the clubhouse. So my understanding is that he's out sick. And Billy asked, where's Trace tonight? He is coaching Little League, if I understand correctly. So
Coach
he
Fowler
had a game that was rescheduled and had to coach tonight. So Coach Fowler is
I actually just got a text from the boss man. His ears must have been ringing about Espinal. He said he might be able to join us later on.
They overturned it. Okay.
So we might get an appearance from Coach Fowler.
Are you using is that a screenshot of the game day? The actual
No,
game
is it
day?
just not updated? No, it's supposed to be. Let's hit the old refresh button. Let's see what happens here.
Probably says final.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, have to hit the 3D. The 3D actually kind of gives you a nice little score. Believe it or not, it's so hard to. There we go. It's so hard to find a good just score bug to put in. When I don't have the nice little graphics that Casey McAllister helped us make, because they don't trust me with the nice stuff.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's earned. It's earned. Let's be real.
Michael Rolfe, we talking meat tonight.
Oh, he's talking meat, Michael.
What are we throwing on the smoker?
Yeah, I want to know. Michael.
Little ribs, little tri-tip. What do we got going on? What's up, Casey? Casey in the chat.
Casey said one day they'll give me the nice stuff. Although, to be honest, like hosting and it's really hard if you're the only person that's running the stuff. That's a Reds win, folks. That's a Reds win.
And before we do it, Andrew says that you're going to name your new baby Santiago. And on that note, Nick, let's run that beautiful 4-minute intro video footage.
Let's go. Honey, we got a name.
It's gone! Oh my God! You believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Clarkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded. The outfield deep and around toward right to the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on. Long drive. Right field. And this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. to door it down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McLean's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the line, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Don't you have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, hey, what's going on? Welcome in to Chatterbox Reds. Hope your night's going as good as mine is. Craig, how we doing, brother?
I'm great. How are you and how is the family?
Doing well. Still here, still on baby watch for a little bit longer, but yeah, enjoyed this nice win tonight from the Cincinnati Reds. Rumor is Coach Fowler, he might be along later on to talk about the Santiago Espinal game, because I think that's the only thing you could call tonight.
We had Sunday in Oakland last year, and now we've got the Santiago Espinal game.
Yeah. And the intro is still not long enough for me to get everything done when I'm by myself. So I don't know. Maybe we just scrap the whole thing and just no graphics whatsoever at this point.
Yeah, it's whatever. The people that listen in the morning don't care about the graphics, Nick.
That is true. And
the people that are watching now are more entertained by the chat than they are by us anyway. So
yeah,
it's all good.
All right, let's get into the box score recap. Reds taking on the Phillies. They came in with a 7-game win streak, and their starting pitchers had allowed a total of 4 runs during their 7-game win streak. In the top of the first, Andrew Abbott gave up a run on back-to-back doubles by JT Realmuto and Alec Boehm. That made it 1-0 Phils. And then in the bottom of the first, Stuart Fairchild reached on an air ball, hit 108 off the bat to Phillies third baseman Edmundo Sosa. And then with 2 outs, Jeimer Candelario walked, and then Christian Encarnacion Strand went down, hit a sinker low and in down the right field line to tie the game. In the bottom of the third, game still tied at 1. Tyler Stevenson walked. Then there was more 2-out magic from the Reds and CES. Christian Encarnacion Strand hit a hard ball past Phillies third baseman Edmundo Sosa, went down the left field line. Tyler Stevenson scored, put the Reds up 2-1. Elly De La Cruz then walked, stole second base, and then Nick Martini reached on an air when Phillies first baseman Alec Boehm could not catch. A nice play by Trey Turner. 2 runs scored, 4-1 Reds. And then Santiago singled home Martini. Espinal's second hit of the day, 5-1 Reds. Andrew Abbott, he had retired 10 of 11 batters entering the 5th, but then he really ran into trouble when he walked 3 straight batters to load the bases. He did strike out Kyle Schwarber with 1 out, but that would be his final batter of the day. David Bell turned to Fernando Cruz. Cruz then struck out Trey Turner on a nasty splitter, and then you got JT Realmuto to lined out to end the threat. In the bottom of the 5th, Christian Encarnacion Strand singled, his 3rd hit of the day, and then Elly De La Cruz hit his 7th home run of the year, 7-1 Cincinnati. Buck Farmer threw 2 scoreless innings. Emilio Pagan threw a scoreless 8th. And then just to really rub it in those Phillies, Santiago Espinal hit his first home run as a Red, making it 8-1. And then Sam Moll, his first game of the year, coming back off the IL, got the job done the 9th. Your Cincinnati Reds beat the Philadelphia Phillies 8-1 to improve to 13-10 on the season. And our deep drive of the day, we'll give it to Elly De La Cruz. Home run number 7, fly ball to left center field. 109 off the bat, 394 feet. Our deep drive of the day, sponsored as always by Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production. They specialize in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. All right. Well, Craig, let's jump into it.
Let's just start with the blasphemy. Santiago Espinal comes in here and hits his first home run as a Red. Yeah, it was meaningless, but so was Elly's. 366 feet to left field. And you go out and give Elly the deep drive of the game. 0 respect.
Well, Craig, if I could get some help around here, when home runs hit in the 8th inning, I would love for the people to know how much work goes into screenshotting that, putting it into Google Slides, then transferring it from Google Slides into the StreamYard to get out to you. It's a lot of work. So I would have loved to have given it to Espinal, but it would have been no one. You know what? But Elly's
for the record, people, I told Nick I had the box score recap ready to go, that I could do it for him, which would have given him another 3 to 5 minutes to be able to put together these graphics. And you know what he did? No, I've got that part. We're okay on that part. Forget the other stuff that I could be doing while you're doing the box score recap. I've got the box score recap. It's fine. It's fine. We know who the star is here, Nick. The people are here to see you, baby. You and the audience.
Well, Craig, after Espinal hit that home run, I think I added 8 words to the game recap. Sam Moll got the job done in the 9th, 8-1 Reds. So it wasn't just the box score recap. But nonetheless, I actually want to start this show because I don't want to forget about this, because it was a pivotal point in this game. And when you win a game 8-1, it's very easy to forget about it. But the game was hanging in the balance. It was 5-1. Is that correct, Craig? Was the tying run? Was it 5-1 or 4-1?
It was 5-1. You're talking about when Fernando Cruz came in?
Yeah, yep. Fernando Cruz comes in, 1 out. Phillies number 2 hitter up, Trey Turner. Bases loaded, 1 out. And David Bell decides to pull Andrew Abbott. And that was I love the call at the time. I don't know how the chat feels about it. I thought it was the correct call. Abbott had given up a lot of hard hit balls, had just walked 3 straight batters, even though he did battle back to get Schwarber out. But when you're talking about Trey Turner and JT Realmuto and Alec Boehm, those are 3 hitters that are really good against left-handed pitching. I like that David Bell was aggressive. You have to pick your spots to be aggressive. You can't pull your starter in the 5th inning every single night. But this felt like a game you needed to do that. You know you're staring down Zach Wheeler still in this series. You know you got to get one here. I love that move. And then Fernando Cruz on top of that just continues to deliver. I think that is probably the one point of the game that I think deserves the most attention.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Abbott starts off the 5th. He goes out and he walks Pache, Sosa, and Rojas, the 7, 8, 9 hitter, right? So now you've got bases loaded with the top of the dangerous Phillies lineup coming up. He gets the strikeout of Schwarber looking, right? So David Bell could be thinking to himself, all right, Andrew Abbott has shown time and time again that he can battle and get out of these scenarios. But it also has the opportunity, quite frankly, that if you allow that inning to get away from you, that could be a backbreaker to extend a losing streak for longer than necessary, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the tying run at the plate and an opportunity to really put away this game potentially with the top of the lineup coming in, kind of break the hearts of Phillies. And while Abbott obviously has the ability to battle, we talked about it in the past, and Trace even mentioned it last night. When the bases are loaded in your high pressure situations, Fernando Cruz is the go-to guy on this bullpen right now. And it worked out tonight because you bring him in as a righty and you've got to face Trey Turner and JT Realmuto. And quite frankly, as Fernando Cruz does, he gets the job done, picks out the strikeout of Trey Turner and induces the line out from JT, which, was a huge moment. And again, I mean, Fernando Cruz now continues to lead the league in strikeouts by a certain pitch. He's got 18 now on that pitch. And I mean, it's just nasty. And he's showing the ability really to give the Reds some high leverage outs, which is really vital for them in these competitive games.
Yeah, just a huge spot in the game. You can't do that. You cannot do that every night. But I think Hunter Green deserves a little bit of credit for going 7 innings last night in a game that they were never going to win. That matters. Bryce Spalding, our good friend, put out a really good tweet about that, really kind of elaborating well on that, talking about how, look, every game, even the losses, are still part of the 162 puzzle. And Hunter Green going 7 innings last night allowed David Bell to be able to pull Andrew Abbott in a key spot with a 5-1 lead. This Phillies lineup is dangerous, and that was the spot you put an end to it right there with Fernando Cruz, and all the credit in the world to Fernando Cruz for executing. But I love that move by David Bell, and you got 1 win against the Phillies. Reds can find a way to get one of the next 2, much to the dismay of our good pal Reed Mouse. The Reds would get the tiebreaker over the Phillies, and I think that's important because these are 2 teams that I think have a very good chance of fighting for wild card spots. The Phillies probably aren't going to win the NL East because you have the Atlanta Braves. The Reds might be able to win the NL Central, but the Brewers look really, really good so far this year, and the Cubs are a pretty good team as well. So anytime you can get one of these tiebreakers, it might seem silly, but man, if you end up tied at the end of the year, it sure isn't going to be silly. And that's a possibility of happening. So I think that is something just to kind of keep, very, very small in the back of your head these next 2 days.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So, not only does Hunter Green deserve credit, but then they go to Casey Legumina, and obviously is a successful first inning, goes 1-2-3, gives up a couple hits and a couple runs there in the second inning. But again, you're using a guy who now is already back at Triple-A. So yesterday you essentially used 0 relievers and had a complete bullpen available to you to use at your disposal. And so while obviously seeing the box score and seeing a 7-0 loss last night, having a completely fresh bullpen after a day off yesterday, essentially with Casey Legumina being able to pick up the slack there at the end of the game, put them in a position for David Bell to feel comfortable to be able to go to his bullpen early on in this one specifically. And again, Andrew Abbott has been able to battle and be a dog, but when you've got an opportunity in a rested bullpen and you've got a day off on Thursday, am I wrong? They have a day off next Tuesday.
No,
I don't know. They go straight to Texas. Yeah. So ignore that, but nonetheless, you're in the middle of the stretch now that I look at it. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 straight days with a game. So yeah, I mean, it's big to be able to have a day where your bullpen gets a complete rest, essentially with Hunter Green going 7 and then Casey Legumina coming in for the last 2.
Yeah. And on Andrew Abbott, I'd love to have fun and maybe say like, oh, if Hunter Green would have put up that line, you guys would be going crazy. In Andrew Abbott's defense, I mean, this was the second time that he saw the Phillies already this season. This is a really good lineup. He did have that. After he gave that run in the first inning, he was really dominant in the second, third, and fourth. Just ran into trouble there. Obviously, with a 5-1 lead, you don't want to be walking 3 guys in a row. I'm sure Andrew Abbott knows that more than anyone watching the show or watching the game on TV. But Abbott's had a nice year. Again, it's not something I wanted to make too much out of with that start. But I mean, obviously, the walks are the one thing that just it does seem to be maybe a little bit of a problem for this team overall early in the year with the starting pitching. It is too many walks. But again, it's just one of those things where I'm sure they know it as much as everyone else, and it's something they're continuing to work on.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that trend plays out. So obviously Abbott tonight had a great outing for the first 4 innings, ran into kind of a wall there in the 5th for some reason. I'm not sure. You mentioned the 2nd inning where he went 1-2-3. Lennon Sosa with a 109 mile per hour hit off the bat. Great play by Candelario there at third, being able to make the scoop go into his left to make that play and kind of end that inning. In the 3rd, he gives up the walk to Schwarber, but is able to keep him at first. I mean, so Abbott, even in situations was able to battle. And then, like you mentioned in the 5th, he just gives up those back-to-back walks. And he only had at the time, I think, 60-something pitches. So it's not like he was getting tired, or at least he shouldn't have been getting tired. But it is one of those things where Abbott was working the edges of the plate pretty consistently today. He was hitting his spots on the inside of the plate specifically. You heard TJ Antone talk about that towards the end of the broadcast. And so maybe it is one of those scenarios where he's just not as precise as he gets a little bit higher in the pitch count. And 65 certainly doesn't seem too high for a starting pitcher, but I don't know. It'll be something to monitor. The pitching staff certainly doesn't, we got to limit the walks for sure.
All right. Next topic, Santiago Espinal. How about that? 3 hits, home run. Look, Santiago Espinal is not a great player, but the overreaction of 42 at-bats, man, we got to stop having big overreactions in April. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine as your bench player, your platoon infielder. He's played really, really good defense, made another nice play tonight. I think defense is more where he's going to provide this team value, but just for someone that's tried to defend, like, this guy needs more time. It was a very big breath of fresh air. So thank you, Santiago, for at least giving me another couple days of hopefully some freedom to defend your honor out here. But nonetheless, look, this is a guy that the Reds picked up. If Noelvi Marte didn't get suspended, Santiago Espinal is never on this team. It was really just good to see him have a good night. Yeah,
and it was good to see him go to every part of the field. It started in the 2nd, obviously, with his opposite field single. That was off of a fastball where he kind of, I assume, based on the conversations that were happening on the broadcast, you're kind of sitting on the off-speed pitches from Sanchez. So he's sitting off-speed. He's adjusting to the fastball, being able to inside out that ball to the opposite field. And then in the 3rd, he gets back up, gets his 2nd hit of the night on a single to center, an RBI single nonetheless. And then obviously in the 8th, he hits his home run to left field. His first home run as a Red, and his 3rd hit of the game for a 2nd RBI. So good to see him pick up some hits for sure, but also good to see him taking advantage of every part of the field in order to do so.
Yeah, Shane here sums it up perfectly. Santiago Espinal is serviceable, just not ideal as an everyday starter, but options are limited right now. He's the best option the Reds have right now. I know the Reds just got this player everyone's infatuated with down in Louisville. He's a left-handed batter. Espinal, when everyone's not sick, is only going to really play for the most part against left-handed pitchers. So it just makes sense to keep Espinal. And he's hit lefties well throughout his career. So I think he will. I think he'll be fine. And honestly, I was expecting Espinal. I was expected to kind of have like a breakout 3 or 4 hit game, and they ought to be like 3 little bleeders up the middle. Like that's just like that's part of his game. Like he's just a guy that makes a lot of contact, doesn't strike out a lot, which there's some value to that. I don't love a bunch of those types of hitters. I don't want a whole lineup of Santiago Espinals, that's for sure. But tonight he actually hit the ball very hard. 99, 96, 92, and 86. So it's kind of funny that this was the kind of game, because I just fully expected it was gonna be 3 little bloop singles and but baseball worked out a little differently.
Yeah,
All
hit
right,
the ball hard.
Elly De La Cruz. I don't know, man. Just when he hit that home run, just my initial reaction is just like, I can't believe this guy plays for my favorite team. And I know I said that a lot last year when he first came up and he had that incredible run to start, but he's just incredible. And right now he's an all-star. I mean, this guy's barely scratched the surface and he is an all-star right now. And that's just, it's just so cool to see him playing this well, this young, this infancy into his big league career. He's the best player on the team. My guy, Elliot Rearing said it today on the show. He's the Reds' best player. He's the Reds' best player.
Yeah, he is. And he does it in so many different ways. And I think that's what makes it exciting, right? And obviously, you talked about the home run later in the game, but even if you look at the third inning, the thing that's been most impressive to me for Elly De La Cruz this year is the significant improvement that I've seen in his patience at the plate. So you look at it in the third inning, he walks and then he steals second. And by stealing second now, when Martini reaches on that infield single on that pass ball by Alec Boehm, he's able to score on that play now because of his speed and because of the aggressiveness that he had on the base pass. And that's one of the things that I noticed all night tonight, especially early on. And I don't have a scouting report on Christopher Sanchez to know for sure, but the Reds certainly felt extra aggressive early on in this game. It started with Stu Fairchild right off the bat making multiple attempted steals on foul balls, but he was running early and often against Christopher Sanchez. So I don't know if the Reds just saw something in Christopher Sanchez's delivery or they knew when he was coming for a pickoff or what it was, but they were aggressive and they were aggressive early. And Elly, again, stealing second in that third inning, gave an opportunity to score. And they come away with a 5-1 lead after that inning and really put the game out of reach for the Reds. So, yeah, and then coming back in the fifth and hitting a 394-foot home run is definitely going to get a lot of oohs and ahs. And then, the last thing I'll just mention about Elly is, he had that game earlier this year where he made a couple errors defensively. And since that point, I think he's got one error in 12 games or something like that. And it's a significantly increased workload. And I've mentioned it to you a couple times. I think I've put it on X.com as well, but I've noticed that Elly is throwing from a different point, specifically defensively. You used to see a lot of lackadaisical throws from him down even submarine style seemingly. And now if you watch him gather on a ground ball, he's throwing from right by his ear. I mean, his delivery is much different. His approach is different. He's trying to play baseball at this point. He's still 22 years old, as we've heard a million times. He's still learning and he's still improving. So even just the improvement that I've seen defensively in this short period of time, the improvements we've seen at the plate all year, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the sky is the limit for this kid. And the one thing I would caution, and I'm guilty of this myself, is that we start to get these exorbitantly high expectations. And then when he's a really good player, he just doesn't meet these like great player expectations. I did the same thing with Joey Votto. Like during the heart of Joey Votto's career, you expected so much out of him that even sometimes it felt like he wasn't reaching those expectations just because your expectations were so high, right? So that's the one thing I'll caution against Elly. Hopefully not, but he's bound to slump again. He's bound to struggle at the plate. He's bound to have the growing pains that we see from every player as they go through this young stage in their career. So I'm extremely optimistic about the future. I love what I've seen from him both offensively and defensively and on the base pass. And he truly is a 5-tool player at this point, hitting for average, for power. He's a plus defender and obviously a plus runner on the base paths.
Yeah, good points all around, Craig. The defense definitely deserves mention. It just feels like left field might be the most pointless position out defensively for the Reds at Great American Ballpark because Elly De La Cruz is going to catch half your fly balls out there. But the sure-handedness, he's also seemed to be a lot better at the routine plays and not just the flashy plays that boost his outs above average and all that kind of stuff. And then another really good point as well. The sky is absolutely the limit for Elly De La Cruz. I have the highest aspirations of him and belief that Elly De La Cruz is going to be One of the best Reds players of all time. I'm going to say it. I'll say it right now on April 23rd, 2024. But this year, there's going to be ups and downs. He's going to slump at some point. He's not going. I doubt he's going to have 1,000 OPS at the end of the year. So just be cautious of that. That's okay when it happens. When he comes back down to earth, that's okay in 2024. He's young. He's developing. I'm just glad that he's given this fan base that lives and dies, and it's beautiful. That's why they're here every night watching our stupid show. It gives them a little bit of hopefully some time to breathe. We teased it right before we started. We got a whole bunch still to get to, so hang tight. Elly De La Cruz in a contract extension. I did say earlier, let's not get too worried about 23 games or whatever we're at right now. This really, I said I wanted to extend Elly when he was in Triple-A, so it's not really, that much of like a hot take. But man, I feel like the Reds, man, you got to be doing everything you can right now. There might be a little bit of a window with Scott Boras. So some players leaving his agency. Some cracks in the armor with the Boras strategy of hold out till you're a free agent. You got to be doing everything you can right now to extend this guy to whatever you can, even if it's only a couple extra years. That's got to be, I think, the top priority for the Cincinnati Reds right now.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that should be the top priority for the Reds at this point. The question is, do you have two parties who are interested in making that happen, right? And you mentioned Scott Boras. He's not exactly known to be making program-friendly deals, team-friendly deals. So it'll be interesting to see how this offseason has affected Scott Boras and his approach to his young players. A lot of the players that we talked about in terms of their availability late into the offseason that were Scott Boras clients were on the older side. We're talking about guys like Cody Bellinger and Jordan Montgomery, who have been in the league for a decent amount of time, and maybe there were some concerns about their age and their ability to continue to produce. I don't know that we've necessarily had that same struggle with Scott Boras clients at the early stages of their career. I'm sure you might have some more information than I do on that. But ultimately, the question is are both sides interested in it, and at what level, right? Of course, the Reds have to be approaching that conversation, but every game that goes by with Elly De La Cruz continuing to have an OPS over 1,000 or 1.0 or whatever you want to say, is another day that's going to increase his price tag. And every sliding catch that he makes in shallow left field is going to increase his price tag, and every jersey sold is going to increase his price tag. And so the sooner you can get that deal done, the better. But I also, don't know what that's going to take in order to get it done. It's obviously going to be more than a Hunter Green deal, and we've seen how some Reds fans have reacted to a Hunter Green deal.
Yeah, I think you have to be very cautious with these long-term deals. I've been a guy that says be cautious, and I don't know, maybe I have the blinders on, but I say throw caution to hell with it. I mean, this is the one guy you go all out for. You risk a little bit. This is the player. This is the one. Just like Joey Votto was. Like, you hit on Joey Votto, you go now, you hit on Elly De La Cruz. I think you got to do whatever it takes at this point.
Yeah, for reference, and I think this is ultimately probably the kind of comparison that you have to look at when you're thinking about this. So for those in the chat and those listening on Wednesday morning, the Royals signed shortstop Bobby Witt to an 11-year, $288 million contract this offseason. My expectation, without knowing for sure, is that Elly would garner more than that. So you'd probably be looking at a 10-year, $300 million plus contract in order to keep him in the Reds uniform for a majority of his career. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but for those people in the chat who are saying 10-year, $200 million, that's not going to get it done. The Bobby Witt contract guarantees an average of $26 million per year over the course of the deal. And I think Elly is probably going to garner more than that. So it's one of those situations where you've got to, I think you've got to strike while the iron's hot, but you also have to be prepared for what that means for your franchise moving forward from a budget standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say, like, what's the big difference between 10 years, $200 million, in 10 years, $300 million. Like, it's not that much more each year. It's a couple middle relievers more each year. You're putting a bunch of risk out either way. So I say go for it either way.
So,
all right.
So if Boris comes to you tomorrow and offers a 10-year, $300 million contract, you're signing that on the spot, right?
Sign. I think it would take more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more like 350.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to know these numbers. I mean, it's hard to know what all's going into everything because there's not a whole lot of consistency with a lot of them, to be honest. But.
Right. And that's part of the question too, and why this whole conversation matters is that timing on these deals matter. If you would have tried to make this deal happen over the offseason after last season when he kind of struggled at the end of the year, that number may be a little bit different. I don't know that it changes a whole lot, but the way he started the season, if you try and have those conversations today, I think that number is bumped up somewhat significantly versus what it was even 6 months ago. So.
All right, let's get to some quick super chats. We'll tell you about the Game Time app, and then right after that, we're going to bring on Trace Fowler. All right, Jacob Dunn, we shouted you out earlier. Thanks for your super chat. Really went in well with our conversation. Michael Rolfe, hope you're smoking some good meat this week. Appreciate you. Kyle Espinal, breakout game. We are so back. Oh, yeah, Kyle. RD711, Elly Mania is in full effect. Elly electric.
I
like it. RD711, please name your baby Elly. Nick, my niece is named Elly, so that's going to be a really tough sell. I'm going to work on Santiago now. That's my my next goal. My wife's already picked out a whole bunch of stuff for the name, so might be an uphill battle for me, but we'll do what we can. Big Red Machine, Bell, same lineup, flip the script. CES now heating up. We'll talk about CES. Don't worry about that coming up. Dare I say Espinal heating up? Dare you do. No more doom and gloom when we lose. Also, we have the same record as the Dodgers. Great win. Great point, Big Red Machine. All in Christ. All right, then. We beat a lefty. What a difference a day makes. Every morning, new beginning. Let's go. P.S. Elly. Love it. Cody just super chatting because he loves the show. Shout out to you, Cody.
Thanks for the $2.
Michael Rolfe. Shout out to Craig Sandlin, the long inning reliever and MVP of the Chatterbox bullpen. Nick, hope you and your family are doing well. Sending well wishes your way on the arrival of your incoming baby. Yeah, we're on baby watch. It's day to day at this point for the next week and a half. So maybe you'll see me, maybe you won't each night, but I won't be out for long. And, I'll be back in. I don't know about better than ever because I might be tired for a little bit, but we'll be here. Ned Flanders, extend Espinal. You know what, Ned? We don't have to extend Espinal because I got the best news for you. We have Espinal under team control through 2026, baby. Let's go. He ain't going nowhere. And then Michael Rolfe, Trace better come in here with an apology tour to CES, Espinal, and Fairchild tonight. Otherwise, we boo him. They played like Hall of Famers tonight. Ha! Well, you're going to get that apology here in just a second. But first, if you want to go see Santiago Espinal and the Cincinnati Reds, you need to check out the Game Time app. The Game Time app is now an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You have all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature, and it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110%. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the code CINCY, CINCY, for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that is the code CINCY. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. CINCY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code today. All right, here he is. Trace Fowler, the SFL Truther. Trace, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I don't have a lot of time to waste. I'm looking at my phone here. It says 2%. 2%. I don't know if 2% is going to hold it. We'll find out. A couple things. Shout out to Fernando Cruz. Game got canceled, by the way. The second game got canceled. Game 1 went on. Got to win. That's all good and well. So shout out to the Little Leaguers. But the game 2 got canceled, and I got a chance to obviously head home. I got a chance to see Espinal hit a home run, and I started thinking. I was like, you know what? Our ancestors would tell a story. They'd say back in 1929, there was something that was ravaging this country. We were very concerned for the livelihoods of many men and women and families, and what was going to happen to the future of our children, and what this great country we thought we had might be despaired. But then I started watching the Reds baseball game tonight and thought, you know what? There hasn't been a more reviving, a more impactful thing that has happened in this country since the Great Depression. And it took nothing more than Espinal to hit a ball out of the stadium. And by out of the stadium, I don't really mean out of the stadium. I mean 5 rows above the bleachers where they start in left field. And for those that are keeping track, that is a home run. I'm on 1% now, so I got to get going, and I got to get going fast because I got to dunk a basketball. But here's what I would say about Espinal. Congratulations to him. I'm very proud of him. I'm glad that he has now found a way to get on base a few times. That is very, very noble of him. Maybe he can consider doing it more. That's no disrespect. That's just me just being honest. If we're allowed being fair on this show, I don't know if we are. The other thing I was going to say really quickly was Elly, amazing. He's been amazing. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on doing the whole extension thing. The only reason I'm saying that is because we have to no. We have to keep in mind. We have to keep in mind what this also does to the rest of the team, or what opportunities it would do for the rest of the team. This is the part. If you want to get mad at anything, this is the part you get mad at Major League Baseball. Okay, we can't jump to conclusions here and assume the Reds have to make a deal. We all know there's a line in the sand there. We have to be realistic about that line in the sand, Nick. You've been a soldier for a long time. Stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. You can't let Elly get in those blinders, brother. You can't let Elly get in those blinders. If he's going to cost $500 million for 10 years, you know it and I know it. That isn't worth it. And I love Elly, but that's the name of the game. We'll find out what the Reds ultimately do. But otherwise, I just want to say, I don't know if I mentioned Espinal yet. Espinal, what an unbelievable double play. What an unbelievable double play. By the way, live in real time, I'm very thankful that I get to do this because I'm a man of my word. Many people think I'm a hater. They think I'm trolling. I'm not trolling. I want the best for this team. I want the best for the Cincinnati Reds. Unlike some fans, I root for this team. I want them to do well. I like winning. So what I'm going to do now is we're gonna get to you. Now it's 5-2, 6-2. It's 6-2. But the good news is that tonight, just like Espinal, a broken clock is right 2 times a day. So tonight, like I said, just throw away all the things you thought you knew before, because there's nothing been more inspiring that's ever happened in this country since the Great Depression, and we ought to thank Espinal for his services tonight. How many times did he get on base, Nick?
3
times.
3 hits.
3 times. You put out a tweet too. What did you say? He's been on base like 4 out of the last 5 games or something?
Yeah.
My gosh. I tell you what, I hope I'm wrong about him. And the one thing you keep saying that eventually is going to irritate me, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to keep letting it go, is you keep saying this guy's a really good serviceable backup. Nick, he's like in the lineup every day, okay, brother? At some point, he's not a backup. Now, I do know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Don't roll your eyes. I get what you're saying.
Are you my wife? Oh, no.
Saying that maybe. Oh, my phone's going to die. My phone's going to die.
Dog. I kind of think we should just leave it.
Just leave it just like that.
I don't know if we should take it off. I mean, what an incredible screen grab.
How does he do that? The dude just comes in out of nowhere. He's probably been off coaching baseball. Who knows how much he even watched of this game? He probably saw the last 2 innings. And he just comes in here and goes on a 30-minute rant about who knows what. A little bit of everything. The dude, I mean.
Chat, do I leave it up?
Yes,
do I leave it up? I'm going to leave it up because you know what? He might. I don't know what happens if he tries to come back in.
I don't know.
Oh, no, it's gone. Oh, no. He must have plugged in his phone. Shout out to you, Fergie. Shout out to you.
Oh, my God.
Now, Elly, look, Elly's different. Elly is different than extending everyone. Elly, this is a guy that could be a 7-8 win player. He's different. And he's so young too. You don't get opportunities to sign players that have the ceiling that Elly De La Cruz has at this young age. I would not be supporting signing Elly De La Cruz to a 10-year contract at the end of when he becomes a free agent. Like, that's not the kind of what you're getting his younger years. You're getting him into like his early 30s, which I think is a lot different than signing guys like and I'm trying not to use players that just completely fell off the wagon because that's such a cheap shot. But I don't know. I'm trying to think who's I keep going like Jesse Winker, but like, that's just such a cheap shot because like obviously you shouldn't have signed that contract. But all right, maybe he's coming back. Let's see. Hold on. Real time, folks. All right, we might have him back.
I mean, even the Reds signed Joey Votto to a 12-year deal when he was 28 years old. So, I mean, the fact that you're getting basically 6 seasons of Elly at the beginning of his prime, I mean, versus a Votto deal at 12 years where at the last 3 to 4 years, he was not in his prime anymore. You know, so signing Elly to a 10-year deal through his age 32 season versus signing Joey Votto to a 12-year deal through his age 40 season is a very different proposition. Now, the question, and Trace mentioned it, and I mentioned it before as well, is that what does it mean for your overall budget and your team as a whole, right? You've got guys like CES who you expect to be part of your team for a long time. You've got guys like Noel V. Marte who you hope will be part of the team. Guys like Spencer Steer and TJ Friedl and Will Benson and all of these guys who everybody would love for them to be a part of your team for the long haul. But it's not realistic that every single one of them is going to be able to stick around for 12 years. So obviously I think we can all agree that Elly is probably the kind of the linchpin to it all and the piece that holds it all together and the piece that the Reds will build around for the next, hopefully 10 to 15 years. But ultimately what will make or break Elly's career is what are the pieces that the Reds are able to put around him. Very similarly to how Joey Votto is viewed on a national level. Those that know that Joey is one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball history. But the truth of the matter is that he didn't have a ton of success in the postseason. And so the average everyday MLB fan does not know that Joey Votto is one of the best of all time. And so ultimately from a Reds perspective is you need a contract now that puts him even more affordable than he will be in 2 to 3 years when he's up for that contract, because paying him $30 million a year now versus having to pay him 50, 60, 70 million a year in a couple of years, like the Ohtani deal, very different conversations about the Reds and what that means for their team overall.
Yeah. And look, with all due respect to Spencer Steer, with all due respect to all these other players, they're replaceable. Elly De La Cruz is not replaceable. You can't go pick up an Elly De La Cruz. You lucked out that you were the team that signed him. You have control of him right now. You are the only team that can negotiate on a contract with him for the next 4 or 5 years. So you got to do whatever it takes to get it done. Now, and maybe there's absolutely nothing you can do. That's a possibility. So I don't want to be like, head of the fire here. You have to sign him no matter what, because there may not be any reasonable way you could sign him. But I mean, that should be priority 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right now.
Realistically, Nick, if you were a betting man, which depending on who you ask, you may or may not be, when does a deal with Elly get done, or does it get done?
It's so tough because you just don't see players that are as young as he is playing at this level. So there's not a whole lot of these players to really judge from. And I'd have to do a lot more like research and really deep diving into this. I mean, I didn't like last year, like if you're in Elly De La Cruz's camp, you're saying, yeah, hold out a little bit longer. You had a rough end of the year. Now you have 1,000 OPS. Now you're taking over baseball. Now there's no discount at this point. So I guess my thing is, at least from just trying to put myself in both parties' shoes, is if I'm in Elly De La Cruz's camp, how much more are you going to be able to squeeze out of the Reds? Like, you know what I mean? Like how much better are you really going to get than you are right now? So that's kind of where I think it's possible now. But we'll have to see. Again, Boris has been very much wait to free agency, but free agency is a long way away from Elly De La Cruz. This isn't a guy he's already in like his third or fourth year. He's 2 years away from free agency. You're close to that. And you're like, oh, just wait 2 more years. You're that close. He's already, up at this level. All right. Well, it looks like we've got him back on the computer.
Yeah, listen, I that's on me. Okay, I knew it. I was watching it drain
on the wrong microphone, but
yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know what's going on right now. I
don't
even know if you can hear me.
Click those on where your little box is of your camera. Click those 3 little dots, and then go to edit mic settings, and you should be able to switch your mic to the non-computer mic. I think that's all we need to do.
What you're saying is you're saying.
I think
you can't hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. It's just very echoey.
Computer.
Click settings at the bottom, Trace.
Does that fix it?
I think so. No.
Does that fix it?
No.
It's all right.
It's all right. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Let's see here.
Settings at the bottom, and then audio, and then select your microphone.
Check.
There we go.
Yeah.
Turns out you just have to know how to work a computer. There's some really good conversations I have right now. I'm going to save them because I know that on a rainy day we're going to need some more and more. We're going to need some good talk and some good chatter. The Elly De La Cruz extension is a very good. It's very good baseball chatter for I think a multitude of reasons. Not just how much you value Elly, but I think how much you could argue, what the landscape of Major League Baseball looks like as a whole in 10 years. Like, our contract's going to continue to go up and up and up and up. And do you find yourself in a position where, for lack of a better term, Joey Votto's contract on the back end of his career, on the back end of that deal, it doesn't look anywhere like what it looked like when you first signed him? Or is there a situation where the values change significantly? We just seen with the Boris guys, you alluded to it earlier, where they didn't get anywhere near what they thought they were going to get. Is that because owners have just decided, you know what, we're not going to do these crazy long extended deals anymore with guaranteed money? I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know what that is.
It says, let me read it. I'm sorry. It's great.
Please.
From Shane Combs, he said, Chatterbox Reds made me enjoy baseball again. Thank you, Shane. You made me smile. I love that you screenshotted that, put that up. That's great.
No, that's the goal here. I think sometimes people they think we take ourselves incredibly serious, and I'm not suggesting that we don't try to do a good job or we don't take this serious. But I mean, at the same time, like we're kind of having fun and we're being entertaining. We're talking about a child's game. If we're being completely honest, there's many more important things in the world than the Cincinnati Reds and baseball. But we all love it. We all put our time and effort into this. So anyways, back to my point really quickly before we move on. Is I think that there's reasonable conversation on both sides of the aisle with Elly. And I would my slight pushback would be this, Nick. Like, what makes Elly unbelievable right now is very much his unbelievable athleticism. And I'm not saying that his athleticism won't translate for his entire career. I'm just saying that I would be apprehensive to say, okay, what does he look like when he's 31 to 37, depending on how long the deal is, right? Like, is he the same? Is he going to steal as many bags? Is he going to be running 125 feet into the outfield to make plays? What is it? What does he look like then? Because I think we could all agree, and this isn't a knock on Elly, but I think we could all agree that the one thing that we ooh and all over about Elly is just his pure athleticism and his God-given abilities. And we all know inevitably, like, you can't be that uber talented and not be successful. It's literally almost impossible. But we don't look at Elly and be like, wow, that guy looks like he's been polished. He's been playing the game like perfectly since 5 years old. You know what I mean? So and again, I'm not here to denounce any extension under any circumstance. I'm just going to say, like, we got to be careful, depending on what the financials look like as a small franchise, to get over our head again. And again, it's not anybody's fault, right? Like, it's not Elly's fault. We shouldn't feel bad, like, oh, we get upset that Elly doesn't want to have an extension with us. I just don't know if it's in the cards, and I don't. But my main point is this: is like, we should enjoy him while he's here, regardless. Like, this isn't like I don't really give a damn. I'm not worried about it. Like, I'm gonna watch Elly De La Cruz for the next 4 to 5 years, regardless. And if they end up signing him to an extension, all right. And I hope it's something that this front office in Nick Kroll we trust, they can swallow and say, this isn't going to limit us. Because Craig was right. It takes two to tango, but it also takes the front office to think to themselves, okay, we're not overextending ourselves here to where if this doesn't go, and I hate to bring up it, but I'm going to do it because you always do it, Nick, is there's obviously injury in this game as well. Like, you can't risk an unbelievable amount of stuff just on one guy, even though I agree with you, Nick. He's not really replaceable. So I think that's a fair argument to have for hours on end about Elly being extended. So good talk, by the way. By the way, you guys doing a great job. I was watching your show. Fantastic job.
Well, unless Elly gets extended in the next 2 months, that conversation is only gonna grow larger and larger as the months and months go on and the years go on. The closer he gets to free agency, it's definitely going to be something that's going to become such a huge just conversation in this city.
Don't you think Major League Baseball, and I guess this is where like the franchise tag that the NFL has, like, and I'm not everyone thinks I'm like, basically Reed's going to say I'm a communist. I'm not trying to like downplay the earning potential of these players, but it's like Major League Baseball's got to find a way to make it to where these franchises, whether it be us or the Pirates or whoever else, that if they really value a guy, that there's a way for a small market team to be able to keep somebody that they homegrown, and essentially they franchise tag them, and they have the ability to take some luxury taxes from somewhere else and compensate the smaller franchises for keeping some of their guys. So I don't know, food for thought. But anyways, I'm going to talk about basketball. I'll let you guys finish up your show. But I thought it was going to be a bad juju if I didn't do that. I just want to say, everybody, love the banter in the chat. You guys are elite. I don't know if you've Craig's actually been fortunate to do this a lot. When you're doing the show, Nick, like, we kind of look at the chat a little bit. Like, you see it, it's gone. Like, you see it, and it's gone. You see it, and it's gone. I'll tell you what, to just consume these lovely people like I just did for the last half hour. I mean, I'm just reading every single one, man. And I mean, there's some funny dudes in there. There's some funny people in there. There's some people not so funny either. There's some losers in there. I'm not going to call them out. But there's a lot of funny people in there. You guys can figure out who I'm talking about of yourselves. But I'm going to dunk a basketball. Nick, you're doing an amazing job. Hopefully you could figure out the whole baby situation. The worst thing that could happen for you is that you have to sit in that hospital like 3-4 nights in a row where you're like laying on that little sofa they give. It's not even a sofa, it's a chair. I don't know how they do it in Cleveland, but down here they give you like a little chair. My wife's going to kill me now because she's going to act like I came home and I slept in my own bed, because I did on my third child. That's what happens when you have 3 of them.
You know what?
Third too, so.
You know what I'm nervous about, Trace, is the snoring. It's giving me some crazy anxiety. I mean, hopefully propped up in a chair, I'll be okay. I got the mouth guard. Don't worry. I got that packed.
Yeah, that works. I'll tell you what, that mouth guard, man. I'll tell you what, whoever came up with that mouth guard, I'd like to meet him, because I'd like to tell him, hey, I don't know if you did a study on this guy, but you need to figure out the mouth guard 2.0. That's a story for another day.
All right.
What are you gonna add?
Well, get ready to dunk.
Yes.
We're not going anywhere. We still got to talk about Christian Encarnacion Strand.
Right. You guys got a long show to do.
The poor guy had a 3-hit night, and he's been pushed all the way back. So we're going to talk about him. Right. We're going to talk about Reds MILB. You know, we're not going to miss that. And then we'll preview tomorrow's matchup, and we'll answer some more questions in the chat. Also, shout out to everyone watching on Instagram. We're on Instagram tonight. We unfortunately our technology doesn't allow us to stream to Instagram every night, but tonight we could. So we do this show after every single Reds postgame show. So if you're watching on Instagram, go to Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We're here after every game. We also have a podcast up every single morning. bright and early. Never miss it. Even when I was in the hospital waiting for a baby, Trace got it up late in the middle of the night last night. So Chatterbox Reds on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, and then Chatterbox Reds wherever you get your podcast. All right, we're not going anywhere. We're coming right back, but I'm going to try to play some music and make this actually, I don't know, maybe a little special, but we're coming right back.
Oh, man, you are. Wow, Elly. Kirby is on his game. I'll tell you what, this man. All right, folks, you know the drill. There's only one special thing you can do on an Espinal night, and that's to not miss the dunk. But if it does miss the dunk, I will say it's the first miss of the year, and it will be very poetic. It will be very poetic. That is with all due respect to Espinal. If you're having a hard time in your life right now, I just want you to know that you can do it. You can get through it as well. Kevin Garnett said it best. Anything is possible. And boy, tonight I witnessed it. I witnessed it with my very own eyes. You should go love yourselves because you got to remember, no matter what, we're all Cincinnati Reds fans. And the Reds have a guy named Santiago Espinal, and he is God's gift to earth. See you, everybody. Nick, Craig, you're doing a great job.
That first miss was those first two were for sure intentional. I'll never believe otherwise. All right, Craig, how we doing? We're only an hour and 6 minutes in, and I feel like we've scratched the surface of this. By the way, Reds won 8-1 tonight. How about that, Craig?
Did we even mention that? Like, I just feel like
I don't know.
We just got right into the action. Big dub.
Cage Pillow's coming. Don't worry. We're coming. All right, Christian Encarnacion Strand. He did not need to get sent down to Louisville. He's swinging the bat really, really well right now. And that first RBI, I mean, that pitch, some of the pitches that he does damage with are unbelievable.
So yes, right. Let's start with the positive, right? I think what CES is able to do with some pitches is incredibly impressive. Tonight he had 3 hits above, or 3 contacts, I should say, above 90 miles an hour, 93, 99.6, and 100.5. His hardest hit ball of the night was a line out nonetheless. Look, I think that it's incredibly important for CES to get off the snide. I think that's the first and foremost thing I want to say. Having him in this lineup as a dangerous piece for opposing pitching to be thinking about makes this lineup so much more dangerous than it is without him, right? On the flip side, yes, that pitch, like, he's got to work on the chase rate, but let's focus on the positives tonight. And that is the fact that, like you mentioned, it's an RBI double in the first. Ultimately, on the night, he ends up with 3 hits. He's got 2 RBIs, including a double. Scores twice as well. His batting average is up over 200 now. I mean, having CES get off that snide, Espinal get off that snide. Will Benson got a hit tonight, his first in, I think, 19 at-bats. So, I mean, if this lineup can get hot, it's dangerous. It is dangerous, and CES is a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's only walking in 1.1% of his plate appearances, which I don't think is going to keep up. I mean, I think he's eventually going to get that up. You don't really see a lot of players that have a lot of success that are below, like, even some of the ones that are really overcome that. You don't really see anyone really have success unless it's really like above 5%. Outside of maybe like one bloop year, like like I'm pulling it up, for example, Tim Anderson had 1 year where he only walked in 2.9% of his plate appearances, and actually had a great year, hit 335. I think he got MVP votes. I think he was maybe a finalist that year. But obviously that didn't sustain because Tim Anderson kind of fell off a cliff as well. So he's got to get that up a little bit. I don't think you want him to change too much of what makes him great. But there does need to be probably a little bit more of a balance there. But nonetheless, it's good to see him have some success. The Reds really, really need that bat, especially with the guys that they're missing right now. It'll be interesting. It'll be really fascinating to see what that walk rate looks at the end of the year. That might be like the one thing that I'm most fascinated in, because it's not going to stay that low, but I just don't know how high it's going to end up.
Yeah, obviously the 1.1 walk percentage is literally the first percentile. His chase rate is third percentile as well. He's chasing 41.1%. So, I mean, those two numbers obviously align. So if he can get that chase rate down, the walk percentage will hopefully go up as well. What's interesting to me is that despite his obscene chase rate, he's barreling in the 79th percentile. I mean, he still is hitting the ball hard despite the fact that he's chasing all these balls out of the zone. Way too early. I mean, but we saw guys like Vlad Guerrero make a career out of hitting bad balls. So it's not that it can't be done, but certainly as a young player, you'd like to see him lay off of those a little bit more. But yeah, I think a little bit is just, he's just pressing, he knows the expectations on him, I'm sure. And, he's just got to calm down. Once you kind of get in a groove, I think it'll happen. But yeah, he's young.
Yeah. Reds are playing pretty good defense, Craig. Obviously Elly has made some great plays. I know Candelario, can't remember. Was it scored an error later on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was actually the Reds had only had like 2 errors in the last like 12 games. But Candelario made a really good pick early in the game. And that's something that's kind of stood out from him, is that he's a really solid, sure-handed defender over at third base. And maybe it's partially because of how bad some of the Reds' third base defenders have been in recent memory. But he's really, really solid down there. And I mean, and also like a guy like Espinal made a nice play. But the Reds defense has at least, and maybe it's just completely masked right now, but it's gone from something that was a complete liability to something right now where it's not something you're seeing as a problem on a night-to-night basis. It's not great overall, but it's been a much more serviceable over the last couple weeks. And that's just something nice until you're holding out till a guy like Noelvi Marte comes back. It'll be interesting to see if the Reds, what they do with Candelario when Marte comes back. Do they move him to second? Do they move him to first? And then you have CES more DHing. That'll be kind of a fascinating transition. That's something that I don't know if we've really talked about or really, really thought about talking about so far. But that's just something I think that will be fascinating to watch as we kind of go on a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that Jamer made a really nice play tonight. I thought the error was a difficult play. I don't really fault him a whole lot. I think this was coming into tonight. I'm not sure if it's updated or not, but Candelario now at third base, he's got 1 error in 36 attempts. I mean, he's making the plays, and quite frankly, he's been making some really quality plays as well. It's not that he's just making the routine ones. It feels like he's also making, the difficult ones, which has been a welcome thing. So, I think once Marte comes back, it's a larger conversation for sure. But ultimately, I think he just reverts back to the role that you expected him to play coming into the season, and that's depth and that's versatility. You've got guys across the entire infield who are not able to take many nights off because of the lack of depth now across the infield. And so when he comes back, it will just give them that flexibility to be able to address it in a way that makes sense for them. And that means giving days off and kind of playing matchups a little bit more than they've been able to right now. I mean, that's what David Bell wanted to do coming into the season.
All right. Let's before we get to Reds MILB, let's look at some some more super chats. I think there was a few that came through. Of course, Michael Rolfe, holy hole in the wall, Trace. And then Michael Rolfe, hey, Nick, Trace is trying to get back in. He needs a link. Thanks for that. And then Ricky, C-Box Reds to the moon.
With the new avatar from Ricky too. I like the new avatar with Trace, Trace's little screen grab.
Craig, did you, while I try to get Reds MILB just a little bit more prepared here, do you have any other thoughts on the game? Did you see anything else interesting in the chat tonight?
No, the chat's terrible. No.
Wow.
We love you all. No, the thing that I thought was interesting is, well, amongst many things, every single player in the Reds lineup today had a hard hit ball. I don't know the last time I've seen that. I realize that hard hit. No, and I realize that hard hit balls are not exactly like the stat to be focused on, but every single player had a hard hit ball tonight, and I think that's interesting. We touched on Fernando Cruz earlier, but just the bullpen in general. I know that Trace talked about it at decent length the other night, but it's worth mentioning it again. Andrew Abbott goes 4 1/3. The well-rested bullpen. Fernando Cruz comes in 2/3 of an innings, no hits, gets the 1 strikeout. Buck Farmer comes in, goes 2 innings, only gives up 1 hit, gets 1 strikeout, no walks. Emilio Pagan comes in, pitches a perfect inning, and then Sam Moll comes in. He gives up the 2 hits, but also picks up 2 strikeouts in his first action back. So, getting this bullpen to full health will be extremely valuable. The question will be, what do they do once Frankie Montas comes back? I'm not really sure that we want to go down that rabbit hole today because a lot can happen in the next 13 to 14 days. But it's a great position for the Reds to be in, to have to make those difficult decisions, and having a bullpen that you can trust on a nightly basis, especially coming off last season when the bullpen was really a piece that I felt like you could trust on most nights and was really a highlight of this team for a very long stretch last year. So want to make sure that we're giving the dues where they are due. And that includes the bullpen. So shout out to them.
Yeah, good point. We talked about Cruz earlier in his big spot, but Buck Farmer, I know the Reds had kind of taken a pretty big lead, but to throw 2 innings, not walk anyone, that's great. Emilio Pagan also didn't walk anyone, through a clean inning. Pagan did not give up. He didn't strike anyone out, but he didn't give up any hard hit balls. So it was, 3 batters with weak contact. Sam Moll, gave up 2 hits, but he didn't walk anyone either. So no one in the bullpen walked a batter. That's what you love to see when you have a big lead, is you don't walk anyone. Like, if you're going to give up home runs, give up home runs. It is what it is. But when you have a big lead, you can't walk guys. And that was really good to see tonight. And they didn't let the Phillies even sniff coming back. And you have to use Fernando Cruz, you have to use Lucas Sims. You have to use Alexis Diaz, because they creeped back to just, 3 or 4, and it's not as comfortable. You're able just to pull off a comfortable win. And now you have those guys nice and fresh for the next 2 games. And if you get into a tight game, you might be able to push those guys even a little bit more. Maybe you have Lucas Sims get you 4, maybe even 5 outs. Maybe you have Alexis Diaz. We've already saw it this year where he's been able to get 4 outs. So that's a really important part of the 162 that we talk about so much, was that all those guys were able to get it done tonight.
Yeah, and Buck Farmer, it's important to note, had the rough outing against the Mariners on April 15th. His last 3 outings now, 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs. So, Buck Farmer was a guy that I think some people were having a conversation around. Is he the guy that gets either DFA'd or optioned when moves are necessary to be made? He's obviously fighting for a position on this roster. And that's one of the things that I think gets overlooked sometimes, is that people know people are coming back from the IL. People know that there are people in the minors that are ready to make the next step to the major leagues, and they're shoving. And ultimately, I think that competition drives a lot of these professional athletes, and TJ Antone talked about it during the broadcast tonight. I mean, you're talking about a one-on-one matchup in baseball where it's pitcher versus batter, and that competition really drives both sides. And so When you've got guys who are, for lack of a better term, having to look over their shoulder and think about who's next on the radar, who's coming up to take my spot, they've got to be perfect every night. So shout out to the bullpen for holding it down tonight, and to Buck Farmer for bouncing back from that tough outing against the Mariners a couple weeks ago.
Buck Farmer 2022 3.83 ERA, 2023 4.20 ERA, 2024 3.55 ERA. I mean, he's been fine. Like, he's not electric, but for his role, I don't know. The guy, knock on wood, doesn't get hurt. He's reliable. You can throw him into some crappy situations where he has to get 2-3 innings at times. He keeps getting it done. I don't know. Maybe Buck deserves a little bit longer of a leash than the next time he comes out and gives it 3 runs. DFA this guy. Like, I mean, let's be a little more patient with him. He's been a very, very reliable reliever for his role for now, going on his 3rd year in a row. So I do think he's kind of gotten. I think when you're talking about a guy that's like your last reliever in your bullpen, there's different expectations than Lucas Sims. There's different expectations than Emilio Pagan or even Fernando Cruz. And I think he's done a fine job. And I think he deserves a little bit more slack if we could do that. All right, Reds MILB, Craig.
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into some Reds MILB action. Louisville, big night tonight, 14-9 over Nashville. Great to see Blake Dunn back in the lineup. He did walk, drove in 2 in his return. So great to see Blake Dunn. I don't think he had hit in a game since April 10th. So that's like 13 days. So really good to see Blake Dunn, a guy that, hey, Blake, you get up and going, you get up to speed, you prove you're healthy. You might find your way on this roster because I've defended Santiago Espinal. I will not defend Bubba Thompson. Bubba, I think you're a nice guy, but you belong in Louisville. So Blake, let's get going. Let's get cooking. He's a good defender. It's not Mike Ford where you're bringing up a guy that really there's not a spot for him. Blake Dunn would be an answer, not a question mark. He would be an answer. So Blake, let's get cooking, brother. Love to see you. Mike Ford, speaking of Mike Ford, he had a great night. 3 for 4 with a double. Just continues to hit down there. But again, logistically where you put him into the lineup, it's a lot tougher than I think we might look at. Resigns, he did have a double tonight, drove in 3. Connor Capel 0 for 4 with the walk. He's cooling off a little bit. A really great story, though, down there. Christian Roa made his debut. He was on the IL. A little rusty, did walk 4, but struck out 5 over 4 innings, just gave up 2 earned runs. So good to see Christian Roa back out there. He's got a lot of talent. He could really get some swing and misses, just like with a lot of Reds pitchers, especially it seems like at Triple-A right now. He walks too many guys. But Tony Santillan, he pitched a scoreless 9th, struck out 2, did walk 1 himself. Chattanooga, they lost 3-2 to Birmingham. That was the last one, so I really didn't get a chance to even look through that box score, but shout out to Chattanooga, another tough loss. 4-11 on the year. Daytona, they won 6-3 tonight over Lansing. Jay Allen, really great to see. 2 for 3, he already has 3 home runs. This was a guy that was just so hampered with injuries all last year. It's really good to see him playing well. Also stole a bag tonight and walked. Really good night for Jay Allen. Hector Rodriguez kept it up. He was 2 for 5, hit his 2nd home run. Sal Stewart, 2 for 5 with a triple. Catcher, Logan Tanner, he hit his 1st home run. Cam Collier, a rare off night. He was 0 for 5. And then Daytona, they lost 4-0 to St. Lucie. Not a whole lot in this one. Alfredo Duno, 0 for 4. Carlos Sanchez had a walk, over 3. Ricardo Cabrera was 1 for 4. Craig, not to put you on the spot, is there any Reds minor league things that intrigue you right now? Any players you're maybe watching or kind of been fascinated by here early in the year?
I mean, obviously Blake Dunn coming back from injury is going to be one that we have to keep an eye on. I know a lot of people are interested in keeping an eye on Duno, but he's so far away that it's really hard to get excited too early. One thing that I should have mentioned during the show that I failed to do, that I intended to do, was to give a shout out to Tyler Stevenson as well. I was specifically one of those people this offseason who was talking about potentially moving on from Tyler Stevenson or reducing his role on this team. And certainly has stepped up, especially over the last couple of weeks. A number of really good at-bats tonight. Obviously only ended up with one hit, but also worked a walk, saw a ton of pitches. I just liked what I saw out of Tyler Stevenson tonight. So wanted to mention that. But no, I think the thing for MILB continues to be depth pieces. Obviously people are going to continue to watch Blake Dunn and see what he does now that he's back in the lineup.
All right, good stuff. All right, well, Reds back at it tomorrow, going for, I guess they would secure a split at least. But yeah, look, if they win tomorrow, they get the tiebreaker over the Phillies, baby. Nick Lodolo, man, love watching this guy. I don't know what else more to say. Last time out, just gave up 1 run over 6 1/3, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He has actually made, believe it or not, this surprised me, Craig, and I looked this up. He's made 4 career starts against the Phillies, and he's got a 2.22 ERA. Made 2 starts in 2022, 2 starts last year. Against the Phillies last year on April 9th, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 12 strikeouts. Lodolo, like Hunter Green's, never faced Bryce Harper, and unless Bryce's wife lets him out of paternity leave early, which I don't think so, I doubt he's going to be joining the team. Active Phillies overall, 17 for 66 against them. I can't believe that Nick Lodolo has 66 at-bats against Phillies hitters. That was kind of wild to me. Bohm is 3 for 11 with a double. Castellanos is 2 for 10. Romuto 2 for 10. Schwarber 1 for 8. That one was a homer. All right, for the Phillies, it's Spencer Turnbull. He's been outstanding. Been a really great story for them. 2-0, 1.23 ERA. You like to think a guy like Spencer Turnbull, that really wasn't even, he was just supposed to be a placeholder in the rotation. I like to think, oh yeah, surely his peripheral numbers are garbage. No, they're actually pretty good. He's got a fielding and a bit of pitching under 3. He's been just outstanding for the Phillies. They're kind of in an interesting spot. They have Tajon Walker coming back off the IL. He actually made what was supposed to be his last rehab start on Sunday. So their manager, Rob Thompson, said that they're either looking at moving Turnbull back to the bullpen or going with a 6-man rotation. So he's kind of pitching for possibly his starting pitching life. So interesting to see if that, affects him at all tomorrow. Just kind of something to watch. But Turnbull actually faced the Reds. You might remember it was actually his Phillies debut. He went 5 innings, did not give up a run, didn't walk a batter, and struck out 7. The only Reds to get a hit in that game off him were Benson, a double, CES, and Steer. So, yeah, big matchup tomorrow. This is a good pitching matchup. I think probably, if we're being realistic, both of these guys have probably pitched better than you realistically can expect going forward. So, I don't know. It's hard to tell if it'll kind of rear its head tomorrow or not, but anything you're looking at with this matchup tomorrow, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, Spencer Turnbull giving up 3 earned runs on the year. They all came against the Pittsburgh Pirates. His other 3 outings, he's gone a combined 18 innings with 0 earned runs. So he certainly has shoved so far this year. He's a right-handed arm, so the Reds' left-handed lineup should hopefully have an opportunity to make a dent. It's interesting. He'll use mainly his 4-seamer, obviously, but then similar to Lodolo against right-handed batters, he'll use his curveball and his changeup down and in on left-handed batters. He does that specifically more against the left-handed batters when he faces them. So a 6-pitch pitcher, I mean, 4-seamer, sweeper, sinker, curveball, changeup, slider he uses 5% of the time, and that's his least used. So you're going to see a lot of different approaches from him. Only throws his fastball 38% of the time compared to a guy like tonight where we saw 50% fastball. So I'm interested to see how this left-handed lineup is able to do against a guy like Spencer Turnbull, who is probably punched above his weight class so far. But he's shoved so far. His last outing was against the White Sox, 7 innings, 1 hit ball. So we'll see what happens. In the last 2 games, he has given up 6 walks, though, so maybe the Reds hitters can be patient and see if they can't force some free bases out of him.
Yeah, and shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They won back-to-back games, and it came against the Brewers. So nice to see the Brewers finally losing a couple games. So, yeah, it's a fun division. Shout out to the Cardinals as well. Let's check that score, see where it's at the moment.
Yeah, while you're pulling that up, it'll be interesting to see Lodolo tomorrow. Obviously, the Phillies tonight rolled out a lineup with 8 right-handed batters. So if they do that again, it'll be interesting to see how they're able to attack his curveball, which has been dominant so far early this season.
Cardinals lost 14-1 to the Diamondbacks. Man, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. Man, there were some odds makers that I think were a little bit off there. All right, a couple more super chats. Can't tell you how much we appreciate you guys. Michael Rolfe, Tyler Stevenson, play of the game, watching the catcher's eyes, moving left directly in line of the ball, taking one off the leg to score a run. But man, is he slow. Great work, Nick and Craig. Thank you. And shout out to Chase. Chase Wellman became a YouTube member. We were working on more member-only content. I know during the offseason, I'll really do a lot more there when I have a little bit more time to kind of dig in. But yeah, we'll be doing some fun stuff there. We'll continue to work on that. So shout out to you, Chase. And yeah, I mean, that just helps us, help support what we do. So we appreciate that and appreciate everyone who just tunes in. If you're just tuning in, you help us be able to get sponsors for the show. So even if you're not a member, we appreciate everyone that tunes in and watches the show and listens to the podcast and downloads it every morning. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Craig, before we bring on Mr. Cage to wrap this up?
No, I don't.
Well, Craig, appreciate you as always. We'll be seeing you again here at some point soon. Oh, we got Cage on Cage, baby. I don't know where the camera's at. All right. There we go. Cage on Cage crime. Double Cage. I mean, when you win 8-1, you got to get double Cage. Ooh, I might have broke something.
Sign Elly.
There you go. Elly De La Cruz. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Yeah, sign him. Whatever it takes. Let's go. All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Of course, be sure to check out the podcast. If you really could, I know I've asked this before, but it is something really easy to do that if you don't want to be a member, that's totally fine. We don't really try to push that too much. We don't try to put pressure on people to financially support us. But if you're just someone who likes what we're doing, one huge favor, was just like the stream every night. That really helps us. But if you could, go to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave Chatterbox Reds a 5-star review. You can just say Nick's handsome. You could say Trace is funny. You can say ... and just leave a 5-star. I don't really care. Whatever you want to do. That kind of stuff really does help us out. We've gotten way more reviews than a lot of other shows that get more listens than ours. So we know you guys are doing a great job. But if you're someone that hasn't done it yet, that is something really easy to do that you could support us with. And we would really appreciate that. All right. Well, I will plan to be back tomorrow unless the baby girl decides she doesn't want me to watch Nick Lodolo tomorrow. And if so, that's fine. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But we'll see you again soon. Thanks as always, Craig. Have a great night, everyone. And go Reds.